Sorry, I wasn't, for some reason, it wasn't coming up. So, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the Richardson Plano Networking. Today's speaker is Kenda-Le Pernin. She's going to speak about the power of integrity, sustainable breakthrough performance. We all know that there are countless books and articles on what is missing in business and organizational performance. What almost none of them address is the powerful, undeniable connection between integrity and performance, and how integrity creates the opportunity for maximum performance within organizations. In this session, we'll begin to pull back the curtain on what it looks like when a business is really founded on a culture of integrity, where every person honors themselves as their word, and how a foundation of integrity creates high performance. Kenda-Le Pernin is a seasoned trainer, consultant, and coach. She's known for bringing rigor to her client engagements and has a track record of supporting clients and producing extraordinary results. Kenda-Le has a depth of experience in operations management as well. Offering a depth of experience for over 20 years in numerous industries, Kenda-Le has worked with executives, managers, and supervisors charged with improving operational efficiencies and performance. Kenda-Le has coached leaders on how they, in turn, coach their teams. Kenda-Le has worked with executives and leadership teams globally, helping them create and implement new models for communication and employee engagement. She served as vice president of a retail services corporation where she was in charge of designing and delivering company-wide training initiatives. Kenda-Le's clients have included Ashley Furniture Home Stores, BP, Allegiance Bank, 24 Hour Fitness Taiwan, Selected Energy, Tilted Kilt, and other industries such as nonprofits, legal, entertainment, home services, financial, and direct marketing firms and artists. Kenda-Le attended the University of Texas and the University of Houston. Outside of work, Kenda-Le dances with a performing dance troupe, teaches aerial yoga, I can't wait to try that, and is active in community organizations. She and her daughter make their home in Plano, Texas. Would you please join me in welcoming our featured guest today, Kenda-Le Pernin.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. I'm very pleased to be here. So thank you, David, for getting this all set up. And thank you for taking time out of your day to participate. You have a choice in how you're spending your lunch hour, and you're choosing to be here. So I'm really excited to have this opportunity. So I'm going to share screens real quick. And given they've given me a small amount of time for me to cover a whole bunch of valuable stuff, I'm going to jump into it. So just a note about how I present. I am not one that likes to be a talking head, so to speak. I actually like interacting. So if you have a question, if you have a what if, how about, how come, say more about that, please stop me and have me expand on anything that you would like for me to expand on, okay? Because this is about you getting value, not about y'all listening to me speak. It is about you actually getting value for your business and having something today that you can take away that would make a difference in the next hour of your business, okay? All right, great. All right, so the power of integrity, sustainable breakthrough performance. I'm gonna just a note about the materials because I have to give credit where credit is due. So this material is being drawn from Being a Leader in the Effective Exercise of Leadership. This is a very intensive leadership program that was written by Werner Erhard, Michael C. Jensen, Steve Zaffaron, and Jeremy, I know her as Jerry Echeverria. We actually have the rights to lead this course. We are only one of about 250 organizations across the globe that have permission to lead this program. The next one is the 3 Laws of Performance. It is a book you can go get on Amazon. If you are managing a team of at least 10 people, I highly, highly recommend this book. And the last one is a paper called it's an article called Integrity Without It, Nothing Works. Mark Kamen and Associates has been in business for 38 years. We're headquartered in Houston, and we have offices across the US and the UK. And at any given time in a year, we're working with over 100 organizations, and you can see some of the clients that we've worked with. I have been with Mark Kamen and Associates 12 years this week, actually, is my 12-year anniversary, and have been a business consultant for over 20 years. My passion is about having people love where they work and having them be known and acknowledged for their unique contribution to the success of the organization. It is why I do what I do. So many of us spend our lives, most of our lives working, right? You know, we're not all as lucky as Randy to be retired. So if we're going to spend so much of our time working, it would be really great if we loved where we worked. So that when we, you know, I used to say go home. So when we walk out of our offices in our homes and be with the rest of the people in our household, we're not grouchy because our day was so icky. Okay. So that's my commitment. The purpose of this webinar is to radically alter your paradigm for performance to having highly effective access to putting sustainable high performance in your own hands, no matter the circumstances. So we assert that integrity is a necessary condition for workability, and that the resultant level of workability determines the available opportunity for performance. So when we're looking at organizations and looking at actually taking care of their performance and elevating their performance, the first place we begin to look is, where's integrity missing? We relate to integrity from the engineering sense, like is it doing what it was meant to be done? Is it working the way it was designed to work? So we have a picture of the Golden Gate Bridge here. How many of you have had the opportunity to cross that beautiful bridge? 1, 2, 3. I lived there, so me 4, 5. Okay, great. So the side on the left is the San Francisco side, Mark Weber as well. The other side is the Marin County Sausalito side. Now, if you were there visiting on vacation and you're on the San Francisco side wanting to go to the Sausalito side and you saw one of those big cables laying in the bay, would you cross the bridge? No, most likely not. Now, the bridge would still work as a bridge with one cable down. But you would not cross it because you wouldn't trust it working the way it was designed to work, correct? But many of us in our businesses operate our businesses with a cable laying in the bay, unaware of the impact that that is having on the integrity of the rest of the organization and the performance of your business, just like having a cable out on the bridge would impact the performance of the bridge. Okay, so we're consistently looking from what has workability in your organization. So we say that integrity is a necessary platform for you to have real workability, and you can't have high performance unless you actually have high workability. So if you don't put oil in your car is not going to operate at its premium level, correct? Same thing in your businesses. But the challenge is we don't know where to look to see what may be out in the integrity of our organization. So that's what we're going to touch on today.
Kenda-Le, can you just quickly define your definition of workability?
It's working the way it's designed to work. It's whole, complete, and perfect operating order. Yeah? Okay, good. So, and I'm about to say more about that here in just a second. So, your computer works because the connections in your computer work the way they were designed to work. You know, David is giving us a great example of what happens when you have unworkability in your power, right? He doesn't have power. So he's having to use things in a way to actually be on, but it's not his optimal level of performance. So if one of those little connections becomes loose in your computer's not going to work the way it's designed to work. Oh, look, Mark changed his background to the bridge. I love it. So we wouldn't be able to see each other, like a whole bunch of fun things would be happening right now, right? If our computers weren't working the way they were designed to work. So that's when you need Mark. That's right. So what is it that connects people in a way that has life work between people? This is where y'all get to participate. This is not a rhetorical question. Randy, I saw you on mute.
Common goals?
Nope.
No.
That's a good answer.
Relationship.
Okay, relationship is a good answer, but what actually has people be in relationship with each other?
Trust.
Nope.
Common goal.
Nope.
You said that.
Sorry.
It's all good. So
What
what
is
is it that connects people?
Holding hands.
Say it again,
Need.
Zip.
Holding hands.
Holding hands. But we're connected right now, and none of us are holding hands. So what
There's
is
a
it?
need.
Nope.
There's a need between each person to either work and earn money, or there's a need to
Yes, but we could all have needs, and without this one thing, it wouldn't matter that we all had needs, whether they were aligned or not. All right, so I'm going to give you the answer. Words. Words is what it is that connects people to one another.
I said communication.
Oh, I didn't hear you say that, Mark. I
I'm
apologize.
sorry. I was trying to get, you know.
You got there. Yes, communication.
Mark did answer it just for, in all fairness, and I thought after you said no, evidently didn't hear it. I
I
figured
did
it must
not hear him. No, I
thought it was-
apologize.
I thought
Yes.
it was
I'm
I
too
thought you were
quiet.
asking a trick question, so. Now we're
So it
back.
is.
So Mark gets the prize.
So we
You
had
have
a breakdown in integrity and me being able to hear Mark's answer, right? I couldn't hear Mark, so we had a disconnect. That's exactly what that looks like on the court. So in your relationships, whether you're a solopreneur or you have a team of people that work with you, it is your communication that's the foundation of your relationships with people. So if there's a disconnect in your communication, there's going to be a break in integrity between those relationships. But most of us aren't present to the fact that we have a disconnect in our communication. We're unaware of it. And when we do see that there is a disconnection in our communication, a lot of times we will say nothing. We'll step over it, which also doesn't have integrity. Okay. So let's say a little bit more. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what we actually mean by word. Oh my gosh, Randy, that's so cute. So we define integrity as honoring one's word. So what do we mean by word? We literally mean what comes out of your mouth, right? As well as expectations people have. So we're going to dig into this. So the first one's what you said you do and doing it on time. That was a pretty easy one, right? Most of us are like, oh yeah, I won't make promises I can't keep and that kind of thing, right? We often hear that. Now, notice up here it says honoring one's word. It doesn't say keeping one's word. This is why. If you are playing a big game in your business, you will not always be able to keep your word. However, you can always honor your word. So when we're working with organizations and individuals and they say something like, I will never make a promise I can't keep, you're playing a really small game in life. Because if you're only making promises you know you can keep, you're only going to make promises of what you know you can do, and that's going to keep you right where you are. There's no expanding past that. It's people who are willing to make a bold promise and be held accountable for that bold promise that have extraordinary results. Elon Musk is an amazing example of someone who continuously makes bold promises. And if y'all don't follow him on social media, I recommend that you follow SpaceX at least on social media, because you get to see his rockets crash, right? And it's kind of, what I love about it is they're having a lot of failures and they're still going anyway. So what does it take for someone who's willing to make those kind of bold promises? Is being willing to be held accountable for the fact that you made the promise. Now, if I make a promise that I'm going to do something, I'm going to get you something by Friday, and I'm not going to get it to you by Friday, how I honor my word is telling you as soon as I know that I'm not going to get it to you by Friday. And dealing with the impact of not being able to do what I said I was going to do, and then either revoking my promise completely or creating a new promise. Okay? So that's what we mean by honoring your word. Now, the next aspect of word is what you know to do and doing it the way it was meant to be done. So this one's really easy. How many of us know how to be healthy? We all know how to be healthy, right? But do you do everything you know to do? No. No, we don't. We don't get enough sleep. We don't drink enough water. We don't exercise the way we know we're supposed to be exercising, right? So what is the impact of not doing what you know to do when it comes to your health and well-being? Somebody say.
Chronic
You
illness.
get sick.
You get sick, right? You get tired. Maybe don't have as much focus. Yeah. So all of that has an impact on your performance, but mostly we just step over it. Oh, well, I'll catch up on my sleep this weekend. And how often does that really happen? You go into Monday just as tired as you were when you left on Friday, right? The third one is what is expected of you. And this is the one that gets a little squirrely for leaders. So the challenge is, yes, decreased quality of life. Very good, Luke. So the challenge is that most leaders do not create a safe space for the people in their organizations to communicate their expectations. So those expectations go uncommunicated. And then what happens is the fallout is the same as if you had actually said you would do it. You get that? So you can look in your own life with the people, whether it's your spouse or your kids, you have an expectation that they clean something or take out the garbage or do something, and you don't make an actual request and get an agreement that they're going to do it. You have an expectation that's uncommunicated. They don't fulfill it, and then you get mad. And there's a break in the relationship. There's a disconnect in the relationship. There's something between you and them that keeps you from having complete affinity with one another. So one of the things that we look at in our organizations is what does it take to have leaders create a safe space such that their people feel safe to actually communicate their expectations, and having leaders generate questions that have people communicate their expectations. Our CEO at the beginning of the year on our very first call every year, because we have a call every Monday, he says, okay, I'm making this declaration again. I do not promise to fulfill on any expectations you do not communicate to me. And he's done, right? That's it for the year. So if I have an expectation that I haven't communicated, and he holds me accountable for not communicating it, because he says at the beginning of the year that he's not going to do that. Right? It's really great. The next one, what you say is so, what you assert and are willing to be held accountable for. So this past year has been like no other year we've ever gone through. And at the beginning of the pandemic, we actually saw the shutdown coming pretty like about mid-February, late February, because of some stuff that I'm connected to in Australia, because they shut down before we did. And so we started preparing for it, and we made a commitment that all of our clients were going to come out of this pandemic still in business, strong or stronger than they were going into the shutdown. That's what we said what was so for us. We said it was going to turn out, that it was all going to be okay. Now that was a really big thing for us to say is so, having no idea that it was going to last this long. None of us knew it was going to last this long, right? And the whole consensus was by summer we would be out of it. So that's what we said was so, and we were willing to be held accountable for that. And what has happened is all of our clients are still in business. They are all still strong, or not, if not stronger than they were at the beginning of all of this. And it's amazing the results they've produced in the way we've partnered with them so that they could produce those results. The other thing that we took on, and this is the next one, what you say you stand for, is keeping the economy strong in the US no matter what. So we've already been doing webinars like this, doing speaking engagements, but also hosting our own prior to the pandemic. I went to doing them weekly. Our CEO up-leveled his from doing once a month. He was doing them weekly for a while and then went to twice a month. And then all the other consultants, there's about 16 of us in the firm, also went to hosting regular webinars, all out of the intention of keeping the US economy strong. Because we know that we have something that makes a difference for people in business. And we wanted to share that with as many people as we could. So every Thursday at 1 o'clock, I have a webinar. I'm actually leading the longer version of this on the 11th. So if you like this and you want more of it, you can get the longer version on the 11th. And we are honoring what we said we stood for. Now, what's happened is our webinars have gotten global recognition. So my last webinar, I had 8 countries represented. Mark Kamen, who I host those with him, I co-host them with him. We had 15 countries represented. And India, Pakistan, people are getting up in the middle of the night to participate in our webinars because we started standing for something. And if we wouldn't be getting that kind of exposure if it wasn't providing value for people, right? So are you operating consistent with what you say you stand for? Now, here's the challenge. A lot of people don't say what they stand for, which is another break in integrity. If you don't say you stand for something, there's somebody knocking on my door. Of course, I'm not going to answer it. They can just go away. It's so funny. Of course, nobody ever knocks on my door until I'm like in the middle of one of these things. All right. So, and then the social, moral, ethical, and legal standards all constitute your word. Y'all actually gave your word we're all in Texas, right? To the state of Texas, that you would abide by all the traffic laws. When you got your driver's license, that was your agreement. You have a license, you agree to the traffic laws. But if you get pulled over for speeding, do you argue with the police officer and try to get out of your ticket? No? Okay, that's honoring your word. If you don't try to get out of the ticket, then you're actually honoring your word. If you try to get out of the ticket, you're not honoring your word. Okay? All right, we're going to keep going. So what does integrity look like on the court? When people honor their words, for example, in the area of sales, they keep their promises for business development and sales activity. There's an ocean of difference between a goal and a promise. When we work with organizations, we completely transform their sales departments from having sales goals to having sales promises. Your brain relates to a promise differently than it relates to a goal. The context for having a goal is it would be a really good idea if we achieved that, or it'd be kind of cool, or that would be neat. A promise becomes something in your brain that your brain is immediately going to start taking action on because you've actually committed to something. A goal is not a commitment. Here's an example. When one gets married, one does not say, I have a goal to remain faithful until death do us part. If you had said that to your spouse, for those of you who are married, do you think they would have stayed with you at the altar? No, they would have walked off on you or smacked you, one of the two, right? Or somebody's dad would have stood up with their shotgun and had something to say about that, right? So promises honored really matter. And what's happened in our organizations that we work with when they actually take on this distinction of promises and they switch from having goals to having sales promises is we see a huge increase in their performance. Their daily promises to taking actions and to making calls actually gets fulfilled. It becomes a complete relationship change to what they're doing in their sales, okay? So here's the big piece. Who you are for yourself is a matter of your word. Now, whether you know it or not, your integrity with yourself is the biggest impact on your personal performance. You are a very critical factor in whatever you're at work on. The challenge is you know you're not doing what you know to do. And you're taking that you know doesn't do what you know to do around your health and well-being into a sales meeting, hoping they don't find out that you don't honor your word to yourself. And so we put on a mask pretending. that we're integrous. You know, I don't have a session when we're working with teams of people and we ask everybody at the beginning, so how many of you have integrity? And everybody raises their hand, right? And then I say, okay, keep your hands up. Now, if you drive the speed limit, every single time when you get behind the wheel of the car, leave your hand up. All the hands usually come down. Right? So no, you're not a person of integrity if you're always breaking the law, right? But that disconnect in who we say we are and how we actually know ourselves as is who's going and making the sales, is who's going and leading for people. So if who you are for yourself is a person who's absolutely trustworthy, that means you honor your word in life and your performance will naturally be much higher than if who you are is sort of trustworthy or well-meaning. Now, the other culprit to integrity is sincerity and well-meaningness. Well, I meant to get that to you by Friday. Okay, great. So what? You meaning to didn't deal with the integrity of it, right? It's really funny. I had somebody, very well-meaning person. He sent me an email to promote one of my free webinars 5 minutes before he actually posted it for me to proofread on a Sunday. I just want to give you a heads up and let you have the opportunity to read this. And I'm like, okay, what was the point of that? To say that you did give me the opportunity to proofread it? Really? Right? That was just well-meaning. There was no integrity in that action. Y'all see how this is starting to connect? All right, I'm going to take a pause and see if anybody has any questions. I can't tell if y'all are putting stuff in chat.
Yeah, if there's any questions, we tend to just interrupt, but feel free to unmute your mic and then remute it if you have any questions or comments at this point. So just go ahead, guys. And oh, by the way, can you see I have light now? So my light's
Yes, you're much brighter. I can see clearly now. The rain is gone.
Which they had good intentions. They were well-meaning, but
yes,
actually
exactly.
the light's going on. So the reality of it is well-meaning.
Exactly.
Obviously is different than they apologized, but it is what it is, right? So that's a good metaphor, good example. Luke, go ahead.
No, Luke put a thing of referral to Catholic Charities.
Okay, Randy, did you have something?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm enjoying the presentation. This whole concept, matter of your word, integrity, promises, all the rest of it, is something that we seem to have lost touch with as a society and individuals.
Yes.
So, and I think this is a really timely topic. Something we really have to look inside ourselves and and recommit.
Yes.
Well, one thing that I want to say, and again, it's a little pointed, so I apologize in advance for being a little pointed here. But when we talk about integrity and we talk about, hey, this was a good presentation, or what Kenda shared with us is really worth putting into action, and we say to ourselves or to the group, we're going to go and put it into work. Integrity means you actually go do that. Right. And so it's through the follow through and integrity of not only showing up is a huge deal to me. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I really honor everybody that participates in these network meetings. And I realize we're not a quote organization, by the way. We tend to think of what we are. There is a dependency, there is a working relationship. So I just find it very, not only timely from, we can look outside ourselves, but we can look within ourselves and say, okay, because this is a high integrity group. I say it all the time, guys. The people in the group know. I mean, I don't worry about whether people are going to pay their dues. I don't worry about when somebody says people generally come in when they RSVP. People don't take their their word lightly, but it is, there are some things where we probably could all work on. I know on mine I can.
That's great. It's great you're seeing that. Thank you for sharing. Both of you.
Lloyd,
Lloyd.
did you
Yeah,
have something about?
yes, hopefully you can hear me. What I'm getting out of this is accountability. We all talk about having accountability partners, and we depend on that person to hold us accountable. In other words, we depend on that person to ensure that we have integrity. Whereas if we have integrity, we count on ourselves to hold ourselves accountable. So in reality, we really shouldn't need an accountability partner. We should be our own accountability partner. That's kind of like what
I love what you're saying, Lloyd. I really do. But here's the challenge. From what I can tell by looking at your all's beautiful faces, we're all still human.
Mhm.
And here's the big thing that happens. The only thing that gets in the way of you honoring your word is what's going on with you internally. And I've had to learn this lesson hard on several occasions. Some of us, the way we wound up being leaders is only relying on ourselves. But if you actually look at the nature of being a human, we're not meant to be isolated. We're meant to be connected with one another and contribute to one another. And it actually doesn't have integrity for me not to allow others to contribute to me. And allowing someone else to hold me accountable actually up levels my integrity, because then it takes me out of my own internal states and has my word exist out here in communication. So in our organization, the way we're set up is every single person in our organization is responsible for selling. My book of business is up to me. So we have a buddy system, and every day I talk to my buddy. And when I talk to my buddy, we review my promises. This is my sales promise for the month. This is my call promise for the week. These are my promises for today. And then we do a recap of what we actually promised and where we are inside of our promises. And having that other person standing for my word in the matter keeps me out of what's going on with me internally more often, not always, but more often than if I'm just relying on me. Yes, Randy.
I have a little bit of a personal problem with the accountability partner issue. I think what I've seen happen is if you don't have sufficient personal integrity and then you do the accountability partner thing, it's too easy to say, well, Kenda-Le didn't remind me of what I promised. And so you shift the blame where it should be, on me, to my accountability partner.
Yeah, so we won't get into it in this conversation, but one of the things that we have inside of integrity is being cause in the matter, meaning you are cause in the matter of everything that you have and don't have in your life. So there is no blaming somebody else for something inside of having your accountability partners. Now, here's the other challenge with accountability partners. You will only hold another person accountable to the level of which you're willing to be held accountable. You don't want anybody holding you accountable, really. We do not, as a race of species, want to be held accountable because we're more worried about our egos looking good, being right, avoiding being wrong, avoiding being dominated. Mostly accountability within organizations shows up as some form of domination. So we've actually got to deal with in those organizations, what is it that has you not wanting to be held accountable? And what has you not wanting to be held accountable are all those places that you know you're not trustworthy. Right? So it becomes this vicious circle. So to deal with the integrity of an organization, we also have to deal with the integrity of the individuals. Now, you are not going to keep all your promises. That's why we say honoring your word versus keeping your word. But you can 100% of the time honor your word. And it takes something, because mostly you're not present to what you're giving your word to. You know, you're busy, something pops up in the chat window that you've got organized within your organization, right? Y'all, it's like the death of organizations is these instant messaging things that happen in organizations now. We don't have it in ours, but you know, I can see people checking theirs when I'm on coaching calls with them, right? And you zip off something in the instant message and it's completely disappeared to you that you just told somebody you would get them something by the end of the day. But you just gave your word to somebody. We're not present to the level of which we're giving our word, that we're not even knowing we're giving our word. So one of the things that we work on is getting your word in existence such that when it's time to keep your word, it's an existence for you in a way that it allows you to either honor it and or keep it. And again, that's another whole other conversation. But y'all are getting it, right? Y'all can kind of see the world of it. Okay, good. So accountability and coordinated action. If everyone you worked with honored their word to you and others, we know results and metrics always go up. What we find in our organizations is 100 to 500%. Most people don't honor what they say or what they're really accountable for. Instead, they honor the reasons and justifications of why they don't do what they've agreed to do. I had COVID this year. It sucked. 2 weeks. I know I was kind of, didn't have to go to the hospital, but there were days I thought, wow, I think I'm going to have to call an ambulance. Luckily, I have a really great doctor that did a lot of FaceTime, and I had the oximeter and all this other kind of stuff. And she, and I didn't have to go there, but there were a couple days that I don't even remember. And I kept working. That's the crazy thing, because that's my silly way I wound up being. But it had an impact on my sales for the year, because there were 6 weeks, really. I was down for 2 weeks, but I had this lovely brain fog for at least 6 weeks. And there were 6 weeks that I wasn't following up with people after doing my webinars. At the end of last year, I had a $20,000 deficit in my sales and I couldn't figure out what it was. So we do this practice. I'm like, okay, so look, I've got to get to the source of it. Now, I wasn't going, it's because I had COVID. I wasn't blaming it on having COVID. So I really began to look and I saw, holy cow, I did that thing I do, is only relying on myself. I didn't ask for help. I could have very easily turned all those leads over to other people in our organization for them to have been taken care of, but I didn't do that. So I'm at cause in the matter of my performance. And when you have an organization that operates and being cause in the matter of their performance, and I want people holding me accountable, I get a prompt on something that I said I would do, and I'm like, oh my gosh, thank God they prompted me, because I want to know when I haven't honored my word so I can clean it up. So there's no space, because what happens is every time I don't honor my word and they don't prompt me that I didn't honor my word, they start to create a belief and they start to not trust me. And then they keep looking for evidence of me not honoring my word, and it impacts the relationship within the organization and my clients. Okay. All right. So uncovering your organization's level of integrity. We've designed a way to come to the grips with the level of integrity currently on the court in an organization, which directly impacts all performance within that organization. It's an integrity assessment. We do it within organizations. You have to have at least 10 people in your organization. What I'm about to do is put in the chat a little document. If I can find my chat, I lost it. My chat's gone. There it is. Okay. A document that will be a very brief personal integrity assessment that you can take. Be brutally honest. No one's going to see it but you, right? And look to see where are some areas that you don't honor your word to yourself. And it could be that you don't even have any word in the matter, like you don't have any word in the matter around your health and well-being, then you're just going to have a default health and well-being, and for sure your health and well-being is not going to work. And we deal with people around their health and well-being in organizations because we need our people performing at their highest levels. So that's all I've got for you today because I'm looking at time. So you got the document. I'm going to put all my contact information in here too. And there's also going to be a link that you can schedule with me directly if you would like to have a meeting with me about anything that you saw in today's presentation. So I want to thank you. I could tell y'all were like pulling it to you. I love that. I can see when y'all are like.
Hey, Kenda.
Yes.
Would
Who's
you
talking? Like,
put the URL for that paper, Without Integrity, Nothing Works, in the chat box, please?
yes. Hold please. Let me stop sharing so I can get out of that power view. Oop. Yes. Okay. While I'm doing that, people ask questions while I look for this. No questions? Insights? Ahas?
I'm going to unmute. Yeah. So anybody hung up on the fact that she's focused on organization and you say I'm an entrepreneur, or are you able to process and connect those dots?
If you're not, I'm happy to help.
Go ahead, Bob.
Kenda-Le and I can help you with that, but because we had this conversation. So anyway.
I came in late to the conversation, but I picked up on a lot of it. And at the beginning of the year, Dave had given us some stuff. And to keep myself accountable, you know, at the beginning of the year, I write out my yearly goals, and then I break them down to monthly goals, and then you have your weekly and daily, and then you look to see, did you accomplish everything you wanted to accomplish that day? And if you didn't, you move it until you get them all checked out. And, you know, I used to be real good at that, but I'm an entrepreneur and I got lazy in writing my goals. I spent 25 years as a stockbroker, and every year that was mandatory, writing out your goals.
So Robert, can I work with you for a second? Do I have permission? Okay, so did you see the slide about the difference between goals and promises?
Yes.
Okay, so here's the thing. When you've got a goal, and you said the key word, what I want. That's all what's going on with you internally. We actually, when we're working with our clients, we don't care what you want. We want to know what you're committed to.
Right. That's a goal is not a commitment.
Right. Exactly. It's not a commitment. And here's the thing.
It's barely, I'm going to try to.
Yeah.
Hey guys.
Hope. Usually it's got a lot of hope.
Thanks. I know I can see there's a lot of mics open, which is awesome. And Kenda, if you can hang past one, we can continue this. So don't anybody get frustrated. I do want to make sure we cover off any of the things. Number one, first thing is I want to do before we go further is I want to give Kenda some props and a hand for the presentation. Kenda is very much appreciated, very good, very great content. And so I think everybody here, and by the way, this is being recorded, so it will be available for you to go back and revisit. And I just appreciate everybody's integrity in this group. And I want you to understand that we are continuing to do everything as a group. Let me make a commitment to you. We're doing everything as a network that we can to not only help you survive as we emerge from the pandemic and what we're doing here, but actually make you thrive. That's why, or help you thrive. And that's why we do these Friday sessions. And that's why it's called Stay Connected to Thrive.
Yeah,
because
I love it.
That's what we're really focused on. And we're going to honor that commitment. We might not always be able to keep it, but we'll honor that commitment, as Kenda said.
Really great.
And the other thing is we want to make a commitment to you that we want to take this we want you, as I taught in the segment, we want you to get a real return on your investment in this group and your investment is your time. You're making an investment here, and we want to see you get a real return. And that largely comes from not only you knowing us, but us knowing you. And so we want to give you that return, and we want to introduce you to other people that you want. So be intentional with that worksheet that I passed out a couple weeks ago. It's still available on our Facebook group, and follow up with that, and just be brutally honest, as she said, with your integrity. So write down, who you're looking for. Randy's got it held up right there, and fill it out, and let's have a one-to-one and just talk about that, and how this group, how me personally, how anybody here can help you get connected to those people to make your organization, your network, more effective for you, and help you do that. And I love the focus of integrity. You guys know that would resonate with me. So next week, next Friday, Lori Van. If you don't know Lori, you'll want to know Lori. And she's got a great talk that I think you'll find very interesting and exciting. So go and look at the calendar. As I always ask, please RSVP, not because we're not going to have it if you don't show up, but because through integrity, I can begin to know kind of what to prepare for. If I need to brace myself for being disappointed because the numbers are low. No, I don't really do that. I've grown past that. But anyway, I appreciate everybody being here. Kenda-Le, again, I really appreciate that. Last Wednesday, we had 38 people. So between the room and Zoom, the room's not getting uncomfortable, but praise the Lord, the COVID numbers are dropping more than we're being made aware of. You look at CDC and some of the other things. So I'm encouraged by that. However, whoever you want to give credit for that, that's fine, but things are going in the right direction. So I'm gonna seek to have, be encouraged myself, and always be good. So any other announcements or anything, and then it's 3 minutes till, and I'm gonna go ahead and adjourn the formal meeting if we don't have any formal announcements. I do want to make sure the men on the Zoom, there's a few of you here, we are having our monthly men's breakfast network tomorrow from 8 to 9, and that is on Zoom and Original Pancake House. So I've got quite a few RSVPs already from both the direct as well as the meetup. So hope to see y'all there. And any other announcements, guys? Feel free to just, otherwise I'm gonna open up the mic.
Y'all are all welcome to participate in my free webinars that I do every Thursday at 1. I put my LinkedIn profile on there. That's the best place to find the topic, and it's Thursday at 1 always, but the topic changes.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that was very, very valuable. And remember, the Super Bowl is Sunday and the Chiefs need to win. So I need your support there.
What's a Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I've been so not in tune with football this
They
year.
need two different teams in there.
Well, I can't help it. I'm from
you're a Kansas City guy.
So I had to be. And
so
plus
go ahead.
Positive for me. Okay, so the meeting is officially over. Now we're in open mic, so if anybody can open their mics, say whatever they're going to say.
And just so y'all know, I do have a hard stop at 1:25 because I have another Zoom at 1:30 that I have to get on, so I have to go.
Perfect. Yeah, we
gotta go.
Don't forget to download the chat if you want the chat. It's still available, so download the chat if you want to make sure you have those links.
Thanks for reminding.
Thank you, Kenda. I really appreciated your presentation and got a lot from it.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. And again, do the survey, and if you have any questions about any of it.
Well, and I think one of the things, Kenda, that I found is funny because I just with one of my clients, I just had conversation, and they weren't getting the results in sales and stuff that they wanted. And it becomes very, when you're looking to influence or get people to, align with you and stuff, sometimes you just got to look in the mirror. And sometimes one of the things I found is promises when it comes to sales. You need to know what your promise is. My promise is to make the calls. My promise is, and I found some people that get frustrated with, clients not returning the phone calls, those kinds of things, and really set their promise to include things they can't control. And that's one of the things that I find is integrity means, you're doing everything within your power to honor your commitment.
You're taking all the actions. Yeah.
You're taking the action. I can't say, well, I didn't get the number because the customer didn't do what they were supposed to do, or the prospect didn't do what they're supposed to do. So it's an interesting journey. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. The thing that you've got to pay attention to, though, when you're making a promise is, what is the promise in service of? A lot of people will start to make promises to look good, not in service of something. Right? So, we have a new consultant in our firm, and she made this really bold promise. And I'm actually partnering with her on this particular campaign. And I called her after she did it, and I said, okay, look, I'm your partner in this, and I actually can't stand for the promise that you made. I don't see how you have the space in your calendar to fulfill on the promise that you made. So I want us to sit down and look at, where in your calendar do you see you're going to get this done? Right? And I'm like, and why? What was behind you making that promise? What was that promise in service of? And what she got to is, wow, I just wanted to look good by making a bold promise, right? And it wasn't in service of having clients have this particular thing that we're out to get in, like, this leadership conversation that we have, right? It wasn't inside of transforming people's relationship to leadership. It was inside of looking good. Right? So if your promises are inside of your own internal, what's going on with you internally, then again, it's not an authentic promise, because then it's about you, not about being in service of something larger than you. And if it's just for you to look good, you will sabotage it every time.
Right. Yeah, I find it interesting because, again, I know your target market a lot is organizations and organizational behavior, and coming from the large corporate world and stuff. And the interesting thing is, this applies in our group. I mean,
because organizations are human beings.
when we show up to this group, I mean, Lloyd, if I assume, I mean, I can look at some people here. Mark Weber, I know that if I make a promise to somebody that I'm going to connect him, to them or whatever, he has to follow through. I have to know with integrity. We're part of the same team on that one. If I refer somebody to, Robbie D, or he refers somebody to me, we need to know that, that's kind of a promise. And we have, it's not just promise that we refer people, it's promise that when I refer somebody, you're not going to make me look bad.
Right. Right.
That goes to your organizational example within your company, but it's the same within this, and unfortunately it happens. Sometimes, we're not available, right? But it's interesting.
Well, you can take the word organization and use community as well as organization, because really all of us operate inside of some kinds of communities. Even if we're solopreneurs, we still operate in a community of some sort, right? So you could take our organization,
Yeah, hopefully we are. it's functional, frankly. I mean, if you're attending a network meeting and you're trying to do it all yourself, then
Yeah.
we really do need to have a one-on-one, because really, this is life is a team sport, and we need each other, and that's why hopefully one of the biggest reasons we're here is
Yeah.
to round out our team.
Yeah.
I know I'm breathing a lot easier now to have Jarrell, to partner with. It's hard to do everything yourself.
It is. I mean, and I've been lucky this year because my daughter lives in New York now. She, her profession is non-existent at the moment. She's an actress, right? They're not acting. There's very little acting going on in the world at the moment. There are some shows that have picked back up again, right? But she was a recurring person in a period piece of the 80s. It's kind of hard for them to write COVID into that, right? So she's been working with me, and I've been loving it because, first of all, we're so connected, right? But I've got somebody that I can share something with, and then she gets to be a contribution to me as well. So like yesterday on my webinar, I had really high attendance, higher than we normally get, which was great. It was a blessing. So normally I just take my own attendance, right? But there was just so much activity when we get that many people that I need somebody just to do that part, right? And she loves it, and I love it. And it's being willing to say, hey, I need help. I can't do this by myself. And it's a gift to other people to allow them, to give them the opportunity to contribute. And we don't look at it that way, but it's a gift because you get connected. And I'm a good lone wolf.
Yeah, nobody does it as good as me, right? I mean,
that's right.
Unfortunately, and we all have that little devil sitting on our shoulder, really, because it's not true. And even if it's maybe true in the moment, it's not sustainable. And so that's what we have to realize, is that whether we believe it or not, collectively we can do more than we can do by ourselves, no matter what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other untruth is they have to do it my way. Right? That's the other untruth.
Bye.
Thanks, Lloyd.
Bye, Lloyd. It was good seeing you again.
Same here. All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye. Lloyd. My daughter doesn't take attendance the way I take attendance, but she still takes attendance. It still works.
It gets done, right?
It gets done.
Gets the job done.
It's funny. I have 4 daughters, and one I refer to clients, and I promise my kids that when I talk to them, I talk generically about clients, because even though they're pro bono clients, I have very entrepreneurial children that are getting the benefit of my counseling, whether they want it or not.
Yeah.
And but the good news is they're realizing, that I have been down the road before, and I do know the bumps in the road and some of those things. And even, and they're starting to value it as if it wasn't pro bono, which I'm encouraged by. But it's a fascinating journey when you're working with other folks. So I admire your efforts, Kenda-Le, into trying to get people operating with integrity, because Lord knows that's a huge gap in our world right now.
It is.
It's not just in business. It's in every aspect. Every aspect.
I don't care what side of the aisle you sit on. If you don't look over towards Washington or any capital of a state or city, and you can't see out of integrity, you are not looking, because it's everywhere right now in our politics. It's why it's gotten this way.
Yeah. We say this is important, that's important. Do as I say, not as I do. I mean, all of these things we see in our world right now, and it does cause you to lose confidence and faith in the people that you're hope to trust to be doing things, for your benefit and everybody else's. And it's really weak right now. We're really weak. And so, but I can't control the world, and I'm not the president, and I'm not anybody else. So we've just made a decision in this community to be high integrity.
That's right.
And we are going to honor that, and we can change the world within our own influence.
Yeah, in your circle. Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
I just finished a book last night called Fuzzy and the Techie.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. Did you tell me about that book, or was it somebody else?
I don't know, but it's written by a guy from Stanford, and they referred to the liberal arts people as fuzzies and the technical degrees as techies, but you need both.
Yeah, you do.
And a lot of the people that are running the big corporations are liberal arts majors because they understand people. You have to understand people.
That explains it, because somebody told me, I don't think it was you, Mark, but whoever I was talking to, when I was talking, I was explaining the application of technology, said, oh yeah, you're a fuzzy techie. So, I mean, I knew enough of the lingo to talk about it, but I had enough of the feels to be on the fuzzy side. So I'm a fuzzy techie. Or maybe no, I'm not a techie fuzzy. I got to be a fuzzy techie. I'm fuzzier than I am techier.
And they have to go back and teach design to the techies. They have to teach ethics to the techies. You know, they have to bring in everything. You can't just design stuff because you want to design something. You have to make sure it does something for a human. It makes your life easier. It doesn't make it more complex.
Right.
Or is
a lot of things you don't even think about.
Or isn't
well, and one of the bigger ones is, you know, back to Kenda-Le's talk, is it ethical? Because there's a lot of issues with techies that can do stuff, and it may be, even they may think it's justified, but is it ethical? Does it fit into the overall ethical framework?
Should you?
Just because you can doesn't mean that you should. It doesn't mean just because you look at it from your perspective and say, yeah, this is what I think needs to be done. There's a thing that says you and I are working together not to do any harm to each other, as well as to serve each other. And that gets lost if your ability to do things can't be bounced off of some other accountability, back to some of the things we're talking about. So it's a beautiful discussion to have. It's just, we can see misbehavior or misstep all over the place.
Oh well, I just had to show it because it's
that was interesting. Yeah, actually, I'm now it's bugging me, and it's going to bug me till I forget who it was.
So it's okay.
Who it was. I just want to remember who it was that called me a fuzzy techie, so I can go back and say, now I know where that came from.
Is that a new book? Is that a relatively new book?
2016, I think, is what.
Okay.
2017.
So it's been around for a couple of years. All right, good.
Yeah, 2017.
I have never read it, but I've seen it around. So yeah.
It's on my list.
Anybody else have anything?
Any other questions, comments for Kenda-Le? I again appreciate you hanging around, Kenda-Le. That was good. I appreciate it.
Oh, and you had mentioned that it might be good, so I made sure I had a buffer.
Yeah, the very first thing off your handout that you posted was meetings, start on time, end on time, and I always say have an agenda, have a purpose.
Yeah.
Those are 4 things that they never managed to do when I was at Microsoft.
Or they write an agenda and then they don't stick to it. They publish an agenda and then they don't even get to the agenda. That's actually in the integrity assessment that we do, is do meetings follow an agenda.
Yeah, and if you don't have anything new to discuss or something that could be handled in email.
But y'all are both talking. Like my ears aren't that good.
No, a techie thing to say right now is Zoom is not bisynchronous. So one of the things I conduct my podcast, I do my podcast on Zoom, and one thing I've learned, and I tell the guys, when we're in a studio, we can talk and conversationally, and I can hear you and you can hear me, and we can talk over each other, or we can do that on Zoom. If I'm talking, you can't talk. or else it just garbles both of us. So
Yeah.
I realize that. I didn't forget, but yeah, you're right.
So I still missed what both of you said. So if one of you want to go again.
I don't even remember. It was I was in the moment. So I have ADD, so I have to get.
I think the point
I have to get stuff out of my brain quickly, or it goes away. So
I think the point I was trying to say is there's so many meetings that it could have been just handled in an email.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
That's another thing that we train on is how to manage projects using email versus meetings.
Actually, Kenda, I know what it was now. I was actually going to give you props for being responsive to the land the plane, because I do have a higher level commitment. As much as I appreciate speakers and the value that I'm getting.
Mm-hmm.
There's an integrity issue of, I say, we will end formally at 1 o'clock, period. And I honor that commitment. Now I will open up the mic, somebody wants to hang around, but for the people that are counting on that, me to honor that commitment, I'm not going to let them down. So some speakers I've had to interrupt, and I had conversation. I follow up and say, hey, how'd it go? And they'll say, I didn't like you interrupting me. And I said, well, I understand that, but I told you when we needed to do it, and I wasn't intending to make you look bad. I have a responsibility.
Yep.
I have a commitment, a promise to the group that we will end formally by 1 o'clock.
Yeah, that's their ego being bigger than the word to the group.
Yeah, and I'm not being critical, because I would have probably been a little embarrassed if it was me, and I do that. Randy's had to correct me when I'm speaking and say, hey, dude.
Just once.
Yeah, you tell me I'm running out of time. It's easier doing it on Zoom than it is when I'm speaking.
Yeah. Kenda-Le, I do have a question. So I'm on your LinkedIn profile, but I'm not seeing anything about the Thursday 1 p.m.s.
Go to my post and activity.
Go to your post and activities, featured activity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I posted yesterday about next week's event.
All right. So I'm in activity. I don't see a posts.
Yeah.
section.
So if you click on activities.
Okay.
At the bottom it says, oops, all.
See all activity.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Click on that.
Posts. And then click on posts.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry to have to walk me through everything
okay.
here. And so I'm seeing all these posts, but
scroll down.
Thursday, February 11th, the power of integrity.
That's it.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I definitely want to sit in on that.
Yeah, it's going to be a longer version and a deeper conversation.
All right, great. I really enjoyed this.
And in your target for that webinar is
anybody,
but it's so you'll be talking about personal integrity again, because I may refer a couple of clients they're more entrepreneurs or small. They don't have some of them have employees, but there is I've been counseling lately a lot about personal integrity and not making excuses. And in your example of the COVID, I mean, I had the COVID too. Randy, I had surgery in November. I had COVID in December. And I think you can attest that we found a way to honor the commitment to keep the meeting going in spite of not being able to do it the way I intended to do it. And but that was I couldn't have done that by myself.
Right.
Because I have a high integrity group, and people like Randy and Mark and even Robbie, Robbie D, everybody that's in this conversation knows that we have if I have a commitment, we have a commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
I mean,
leadership.
there is literally nobody in this group that you couldn't ask to fill in for David that would say no.
That's great.
So, but that's because of the people, right? And Mark knows.
Okay, but hold on a second. I'm going to interrupt you because that's not, you're actually not owning and being cause in the matter for that. It's not that it is the people, David, but it's the value you're bringing the people that have the people that are willing to do that. You're not being cause in the matter that you've got great people.
Yeah. Well, I don't like,
Sorry,
I'm a little,
push a little bit, but
that's okay. Thanks for calling me out. I'm always a little uncomfortable with, to me, leadership is taking the blame and giving the credit. So I tend to have,
but
I have trouble owning.
I got it, but that's just the way we were brought up.
Right.
It actually doesn't have integrity for you to own the success of the group.
Mhm. Right.
By the way.
Well, he maybe doesn't own the success, but he takes personal pride in owning that he has a major role and can play in affecting the success of the group.
But still, be cause in the matter. It didn't happen without you.
Right.
I understand what you're saying, and you're
Okay.
you're right. I agree.
Yeah, it's just it's one of these things that we can do as leaders where it becomes a little self-deprecation.
Mhm.
And we call it being humble.
Yeah.
So what do you mean? I'm missing, there's something I'm missing in this part of the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Ask your question.
Well, the question is, I'm not sure I understand.
The self-deprecation?
You say because, well, no, the because in the matter. I missed, what do you mean by that?
So being cause in the matter is the willingness to be the one that has everything in your life and doesn't have everything in your life. Be the way it is or the way it isn't.
Now you've really thrown me for a loop. That's like being all things to all people.
I got it. But so like in getting COVID, right? I was cause in the matter of getting COVID. It didn't just happen to me. Now,
well, because you could have stayed home and not gone anywhere, right?
Well, at the time that it happened, I was staying home and not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. I think I got it from a DoorDash person.
Oh, wow.
Or through a delivery, right? And it was funny because it was like there was one delivery that I took the stuff in the kitchen. I was so freaking hungry and I didn't do what I knew to do. I had like this whole protocol of when stuff was delivered into the house and and I didn't do what I knew to do because what was going on with me internally, being hungry, was more important than what had integrity.
Yeah, but I kind of put that in the same category as people who say they need to find out where they got that cold.
Yeah, I got it. But here's the thing is I'm not making myself wrong. I don't blame myself for doing it. I just get, wow, there you go. That's one more place that I allowed what was going on for me internally to be more important than my word. Right? And it's just an acknowledgement.
I don't think it's a showstopper.
No, but what happens is in acknowledging it,
okay,
I maintain power. If I become a victim of COVID, right, then I'm giving my power away.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you or what you give the thing to, whether it's the group, me saying it's the group, or me saying it's COVID. It doesn't matter because it is. I have to own it. I mean, the bottom line is I either keep the power or I give it away.
Right.
And if I excuse something, then I'm giving my power to something else.
Right.
Exactly.
No, that part I agree with.
Exactly. So when he says, "Oh no, it's the group, right? It's not me." He's in that moment giving his power away to the group and not owning his contribution to the group. Right? We actually have
but it's also his modesty. I think he is a very strong man and he has a lot of great ideas and execution, but he's also pretty modest and he wants to make sure that the rest of the team feels like they are important as well.
And I have no problem with that at all, right? But there's a place where modesty can become self-deprecation.
Okay.
You just gotta find the line. Find the line. That's all.
I'll wait to hear more next Thursday.
Okay. And if you really are interested in giving your power away, my webinar on the 18th is the path to power. And we look at 8 different areas where we give our power away.
Okay.
On the 18th, that might be good. Yeah, I know, and my buddy Mark here, who's showing up on my screen right below me. That was one of the things. He's a very humble guy too, and he was part of the founding of this group. And if it wasn't for the things that he did in creating kind of the infrastructure and just the beginning culture of what we've now continued to flourish with, it wouldn't happen. But he's a very unassuming guy too. So
David, I think we need to let Kenda-Le.
Yeah, I was like, I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, okay, I gotta go.
Her legs are crossed, I can tell.
Bye, everybody.
Kenda-Le, we love you. Thank you.
Thank you. I love you
care.
guys too. This has been great. Thank you so much.
Looking forward to hearing more.
All right,
Peace.
bye.
Peace out. Right.
Yeah, thanks, Randy. Thanks for keeping us. You know me, I could go forever. But anyway, well, things are going good, Mark. Oh, you're on mute. I'm not sure why you went to mute. No, you're still on mute. What's the deal?
Just finishing up paperwork.
But the thing with Jarrell is going good. Everything.
Yeah. It's just we're having to do the paperwork, to get it all formal.
Yeah, good. Well, we had the conversation. Just as good as it's going. Hey, Robbie D. Let's.
It's nice to have the same.
I'll see the rep
and such, and we just get along well. So.
Yeah, that's as long as you're getting it papered, that's important because.
Yeah, there were a few details and a few questions. I had a lawyer that looked over it and said it's a very fair thing, but I just need a couple of things defined here that weren't spelled out. And so we're
good.
I've got one of his shirts already, and